Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. So today's book, I went back to fiction again. I wasn't going to let the other fictional book cloud my judgment and keep me off fiction forever. So I selected a book that was recommended for AP Lit, and it is called Passing by Nella Larsen. And it the term passing is something that is used by the people of color, especially when we had the Jim Crow laws and segregation was obvious. Um, if someone was lighter, and if you've taken my senior literature course, if anyone was lighter than a brown paper bag, you could pass for white. And you might wonder, why would people do this? Well, in the 1920s, racism was allowed to flourish. We had laws, the Jim Crow laws that, um, we hadn't gotten to the, Brown versus Board of Education. So again, certain advantages came with passing for white. So we start in the 1920s, and we have two childhood friends meet up in Chicago on accident. They accidentally run into each other. And Irene is visiting Chicago, and she is identified by a childhood friend named Clare. Now, Irene is happily married to a doctor, doing very well, and she lives in Harlem, which, if you know from history, the Harlem Renaissance was alive and well. The Black community, celebrated itself, and um, you know, to the point where white people would come into their community. And she goes back to Chicago, where she is originally from, and meets her friend Claire, who has been passing, because she's light skinned, lighter than a brown paper bag, for white. And she invites Irene back to her home. She is married to a successful white man. They do teas, those types of things. Very, very high status. And then Irene meets Claire's racist husband. The N word is used freely by him. He even has a little nickname for her. And all the while, Claire allows this to happen because she knows if her husband finds out that she's actually a woman of color, every she's dead, quite honestly, based on this man's actions. So when her husband goes to Canada for business, Claire decides, hey, I want to hang out in Harlem. She sort of reclaims her race, and takes advantage of all those things that Harlem has to offer, the safety for one. And I have to say, this is a novella, so it's not very long. Larsen does a fantastic job at creating tension in a plot, because Irene is kind of getting upset because she's never tried to pass for white. She's embraced her blackness. She has created this wonderful life. And here comes Claire with all her privilege and just upends Irene's life. And I do have to give Larsen credit for the ending. The ending is perfect. The last line, perfect. I highly recommend it if you liked the Vanishing Half. Now, in that story, we had two sisters. One passed for white out west, and the other kind of hung around New Orleans and, did not try to pass for white. So you see the two sisters' lives because of it. So if you like The Vanishing Half, this is along those lines. I don't think I'm going to teach it to AP Lit because the novel we do, Homegoing, does have a section with that takes place in Harlem, and the husband actually starts passing for white. So if I didn't have time for homegoing, I would definitely use this one because of the tension, the characterization, the historical context, and therefore the subtext is just right on. So I highly recommend Passing by Ella Larsen. It was a great read and very educational as well. All right, so if you liked this review, like, share, or subscribe. Thank you.